Hi there, good evening. Welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abban. Tonight we have a special for you. We're doing a 360 analysis of the John Mahama Naana Opoku-Agyeman ticket that has been delivered, or should I say suggested by the NDC as the ticket for the 2024 presidential elections on the part of the opposition NDC. What does this ticket bring? Why did John Mahama decide on Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman and none else to partner him towards prosecuting the 2024 general elections on the ticket of the NDC? We will analyze this tonight and get to unpack the nuances that come with it. Of course, there's a regional balance to consider, the role of the central region in national politics, why the NDC has been quite consistent. Well, in the last 32 years, quite a number of running mates have come from the central region. What has been the scorecard? What has been the magic that's come with it? And is it always a great strategy to consider, or there's more to it? Already we're seeing the decision and its impact making and finding expression in Parliament between the majority and the minority. We will seek to delve into the nuance of all of this, even as we build up towards the 2024 presidential election. So it's a night where we analyze the John Mahama Naana Opoku-Agyeman ticket. We will be speaking to a man whose big line of assessment is in research and polling. We'll look at that and what the numbers talk about. Then we'll also be engaging the special aid to former president and the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, and the person of Joyce Bawah Mogtari. She will join us tonight for that rounded conversation. But before we even get into the nitty-gritty of the discussions, let me remind you that the show is brought to you by the kindness of courtesy of MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. And did you know that MTN Momo now has an app? Yes, MTN Momo has a brand new app specially designed to make your user experience a lot more exciting. You cannot miss the blue and yellow icon when you go to Google Play Store or the App Store. When you download this app, MTN Momo, you get opportunity to view your statements, pay your bills, receive funds, get to track all your transactions on MTN. MTN is certainly everywhere you go. Before we get talking, let's share with you a special package about the choice of Naana Opoku-Agyeman and also what the permutations had looked like before the announcement.
Finally, the big announcement has been made. John Dramani Mahama has settled on the former Education Minister, Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman, as his running mate in the 2024 general elections. This announcement was made by General Secretary of the party.
President Mahama expressed confidence in his running mate, and what he said is that he was proud to have Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman as the running mate on account of her integrity, her dedication, her vision for a better Ghana, and she being an ideal candidate to be able to help the party to be able to win this coming election. So we can only express our satisfaction and our happiness about this choice.
Once again, the General Secretary of the party said this choice is obviously the best choice against the ruling New Patriotic Party in the December polls.
In fact, I think in the case of Professor Naana J, we've already gone through all the rigorous criteria in the past. So this is not like a new candidate who is now going to be examined for the first time. Effectively, she has gone through every rigorous examination, not just at the level of the party, but also at the level of the country. So you obviously see that to be an advantage.
He then took a swipe at the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, indicating that Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman is even a better choice than the MPP's flag bearer in the December polls.
Her competence is not in doubt. Her credibility is not in doubt. Her character is not in doubt. And the people of Ghana clearly are looking for an individual that can be trusted. And their running mates represent that individual who clearly can be way more trusted than the flag bearer of our main opposition. That all of you know is just an epitome of complete lack of credibility.
But is this a better ticket Ghanaians would opt for in the December polls?
Our running mate, listen, is is 1,000,000 times better than their flag bearer. What about that? And so we know that with the work we are going to do, Ghanaians they will have trust, they'll vote for us, and we shall protect every ballot. We shall protect the work we do. We shall protect our vote. Trust me, we will not allow 2020 to happen again.
And then we all know that inshallah, this time around, Ghanaians will rally behind us. And as a Zongo caucus, we are going to go around the country everywhere, wherever we think will garner votes, to ensuring that His Excellency win, and then making Prof the first female vice will do it.
With about 8 months to a crucial elections in December, is this the choice that Ghanaians will really accept? Reporting for GHOne News, Abdelhanan Adam, NDC headquarters at the Braka.
So that's how things panned out last week when the choice was made and the announcement was made that Professor Naana Opokwo-Agyeman will be John Dramani Mahama's running mate heading into the 2024 presidential elections. Let's subject this whole matter and this discussion and the ticket to some analysis tonight. We can speak now to the founder and the CEO of DWA Risk Consulting Limited and also Global Info Analytics, who's also a poster and a risk analyst, geopolitical analyst and development advocate in the person of Musa Dankwa. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
So we're here. I remember in the last conversation that we've had, we've always come around to this conversation about choice of running mates, strength of presidential tickets, and how it has a domino effect in communities and regions and in political dynamics. On a general level, what do you make of the NDC's choice of Professor Naana Opokwo-Agyeman being retained as the running mate heading into the 2024 elections based on what happened in 2020?
Right. Thank you for having me, and thank you very much to your viewers and I guess listeners everywhere. If you look at the choice NDC has made, I think they came to the conclusion that the reasons that led to her nomination 4 years ago are still relevant in today's elections. And then also they've come to realize that it is better not to disturb the boat by following the old adage that says that if it's not broken, don't fix it. If you look at some of the reasons why she was selected last 4 years, one, it was to appeal to the female voters and also to send a message that the party would give opportunity to female running mates and that women could rise up to that level in Ghanaian politics. So it was a message to try and break the glass ceiling for women when it comes to politics in this country. And then also to appeal to female voters. Then you have the question of appealing to the middle class and academia. Well, NDC has been tagged as Baranda Boys Party, quote unquote. And they were trying to portray a new image by letting somebody who has proven to be an astute professor, an academia, somebody who has run UCC as a chancellor. And I think that was a deliberate attempt to really appeal to those block of voters. And then you have the issue of education. Now, in 2020, free education was still a campaign issue. 4 years after it was delivered, after it was delivered, they needed still to defend it. So they were looking for somebody who could speak to the issue of free education and demonstrate competence and understanding of the issues that faced us as a country as far as education is concerned. And those issues are still relevant today. So long as we still have the middle class, so long as we still have the female voters, so long as we haven't broken the glass ceiling for women in politics, and so long as we have the middle class and academia, I think it was, in their view, the right decision to retain her.
All right. That's on the level of the nuances that come into the choice. But if you look to the numbers from 2020 and the performance of the NDC, how much of her influence was apparent in the performance to make a strong case for why her retention on the ticket is important today?
Right. Fortunately for us, we did a poll in December 2020, just few days before the election. And we asked voters whether they were going to consider voting for the NDC because of the nomination of Professor Naana as running mate. And in that survey, just before the elections, 27% of the respondents said that they would definitely vote for the NDC because of Professor Naana. And another 29% said they might consider voting for the NDC because of Professor Naana. That's about 56% positive. And then you have 44% said they were not going to be influenced at all by her nomination and that they will vote based on certain things. But clearly we saw a number of people who said they were going to vote for the NDC because of her. Now, if you look at the regional breakdown, and I'm going to focus on Central Region. In the Central Region, about 33% said they were going to vote for her definitely. 51% said they were going to vote for her. They may consider voting for NDC because of her. And 16% said not at all. Now, if you look at the data from the rest of the regions, the region with the less at all respondents were Savannah 13%, then Central Region 16%. So it's the second lowest across the entire region, which means that they saw her nomination as positive rather than negative. And then if you look at what really transpired in the elections in 2020, even though NDC didn't win in Central Region, they had outperformed their numbers in that region in the last probably 12 years. Now, in 2008, NDC won the region with 50.6%. And in 2012, they won it again with 52.1%. That's about 1.5% increase in their share of vote. In 2016, they collapsed from 52% to 43.4%. That's about 8.9% margin drop. But in 2020, NDC vote went up from 43.4 in the Central Region to 45.9. That's about 2.5%. That's the largest increase in their share of vote from election cycle, which means that while Mr. Atta, may he so rest in peace, added 1.5% in the Central Region, Naana, though they didn't win, added 2.5% Central Region. So her numbers in terms of overall presidential election was profound. It is there. Now, if you look at the number of seats NDC had in the region in 2020, there were about 4 seats in Central Region. Only 4 seats. But in 2020, that had moved from 4 to 13. That represents additional 9 seats in the region. Clearly, she has performed, just that NDC lost overall elections in the Central Region. But in terms of what she brought on the table, it was positive.
So based on the numbers you've shown and from the past performance, what is expected then of her, should I say stability or should I say consistency in keeping to her for the Central Region? And what's the task in being able to add to the value of the ticket for election 2024?
Right. I think her nomination is not just for the Central Region. We've already mentioned the demography that she's supposed to appeal to. Those demographics are spread across the length and breadth of this country. And then Central Region is one of the swing regions, besides Greater Accra and Western Region. And Central Region is also Akan-dominated region, which means that if you pick someone from Central Region, you are broadly appealing to the Akan regions, which is the Central, Western North, Bono East, Ahafo, Ashanti, Eastern regions, because they represent the majority Akan voters. So you're appealing to those people. Now, if you look at the numbers that we have currently seen in the polls, NDC currently leads in Central Region. So what they need to do is to maintain that lead. They're not coming from behind like they did probably they were in 2020. This time around, they are on the front foot in the region. So you wouldn't want to disturb your polling numbers by taking a decision that would destabilize your front in terms of replacing her, because that would have a reaction from the region. Because from the polls we did in 2020, she was clearly a positive in the region. And once you don't retain her, you create instability in your campaign. And she's going to bring probably, if the poll numbers are to be believed and they will remain the way they are, probably cement their leading in the Central Region, which would be crucial for the NDC, because at the moment, it is the region that they're not doing as well as they are in other swing regions.
So to fully swing the Central Region for the NDC, what would Professor Jane have to do to make it a resounding one as proof of her candidature and her region rooting for her?
No, it doesn't matter where you go. If you elect anybody or select anybody to be your running mate or even the candidate himself, you must speak to the issues that bother voters. She must understand what bother voters in the Central Region. It might be education, jobs, economy, but they must find out in which order, because it is not the same order in every region. You must understand the region and understand the issues that bother the region, and then speak the language that they understand. Once you are able to do that, you connect to the voters, and then you resonate. And once you resonate, definitely you will get the vote.
Now, yes, we said Central Region is not the only part that she would have to influence. But based on the matters that are prevailing that would influence voters and their choice, how must she seek to position herself in the minds of the Ghanaian people better than what she did in 2020?
I try to remain speaking to the numbers, but this what she has to do is matter for the political marketers and political commentators. But if I should just chip in one or two, I think she must be herself. They must keep her ordinary, not any sophistication, a mother that every mother can connect to and every woman can connect to. At the same time, focusing their competence and probably pushing that she can be trusted. And once they're able to do that, and as a woman who deserves to be where she is, I think they can win the Central Region.
You mentioned the part on women. I might as well explain that with you. Do the numbers speak to a country that first votes, or the gender dynamics have an impact on voter turnout? Now, what I'm specifically asking is that, can a female running mate garner female votes for a presidential ticket?
You know, if you make it an advocacy issue for women, and that you are in it for them, and that you want to break the glass ceiling, and that you want every girl child to be able to tell herself that one day I could aspire to be the vice president or even the president, and then demonstrate that you would work feverishly to deliver their concerns. And that, look, the issues that affect women are still the jobs, education, and the economy. How are you going to connect your role as a vice president to be able to address the issues women face today? Women are self-employed, and they face the same problem of financing or capital like any other. So what are you going to do to be able to make sure that women are able to get their lion's share or their fair share of development? How would you be able to elevate women beyond what they currently are to the next level? I mean, there is advocacy for women to be given, to be empowered. Would her candidature, help in this regard? And it's no surprise that you've seen some women advocacy groups pressurizing the major parties to nominate females at their running mate, and even to fill a lot of females as their parliamentary candidates. At the moment, the numbers are dwindling. And in the midst of dwindling female politicians, I think she will probably have a good case to make for herself. Okay,
case to make for herself. But please indulge me with the numbers. Southern Ghana, Middle Belt, Northern Ghana. Where does the the swell of influence of female votes for a female running mate predominantly come from? Would it be from Northern Ghana, Middle Belt, or Southern Belt?
I think it's everywhere. But what we've seen in the data is that besides she being popular in the South, surprisingly, she's very popular in the Northern region, which traditionally has been male-dominated kind of culture. But it's surprising that you see her breaking that ceiling in the Northern region. And that could be the same story elsewhere in the North. So once she's able to position herself properly, I think she can break through some of the barriers that normally women face. And coming on the back of NDC ticket, that should help her as well. And should MPP also elect a female running mate, that we're really going to have a very keen contest, because then we have a battle of ideas for women and we'll see which of them the women will trust.
You mentioned the issues that affect the people and their choices that they make. Economy is one, education is another, cost of living is another, roads and infrastructure also being the key issues, and then our fight against corruption also playing a part in people's voting decisions. Of these five, for Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman, where should her focus be in speaking to the hearts and minds of the voters towards this election? Because everybody knows that her strength is in education,
yes,
but the economy is not her strong suit.
Right. If you look at the issues that affect women in this country, it's also economy. When there is cost of living crisis or there is hardship, women are the hardest hit. When there's joblessness in the system, women are hardly hit. So it's for her to be able to connect their policies and programs that borders on jobs, education, and the economy, and link that to women's empowerment in this country. So it's for her to be able to do the connection. Once you're able to speak to women at that level and make it relevant that, look, this is what you have and this is what it could do to alleviate their poverty or elevate them in terms of just certain society, I think they will be open to listen to you. It's the way you position yourself and using the key issues that matter to voters without deviating.
Should this choice, and this is my last question, should this choice influence the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, on choosing a female running mate to even the scales?
It might not necessarily be, because MPP have their own issues, which is completely different from the NDC. MPP has to galvanize its base in Ashanti region. Unless they can find a female from Ashanti region who can galvanize the base and at the same time counter the positive of Naana Opoku, then that would be great. That would be fantastic. Because their issues are not the same as the NDC issues. So they shouldn't be electing people based on NDC's decision. They must look themselves in their own mirror and say, what is our problem? What are we seeking to address here?
The majority leader today had cause to take aim at the running mate for the NDC in the SONA debate relative to her age, and quite frankly, the minority were unhappy with this. How much of the gender and personality attacks could harm or hurt the quality of the election that we're going into?
Look, I have said this over and over and over again. Yes, running mates make some difference. I don't expect any running mate at nomination to turn the race on its head. No running mate will ever turn the race on its head from where we stand at the moment in today's election. So they will just complement and try and keep the base happy. But they will not kind of sway most voters to swing A to B or B to C. They will not. And, having heard the discussion this month or 3 months ago regarding the role of the vice president, you are giving what the president wants you to do. If the president decides not to give you anything, you will not be effective. So this election is about the flag bearers. It's about 2 flag bearers, and that's what people will use to vote. The running mates are just supplementary, they will not add significant numbers to your vote.
All right. Chief, I want to say thank you tonight for your analysis and your thoughts on the decision by the NDC and this choice, and per the numbers. We'll see how things will pan out in the committees. But I thank you for your time and for joining us. So that's Musa Dankwa. He leads the group Global Info Analytics, also DWA Consulting Limited. He's the founder of DWA Consulting Limited, and also the man behind Global Info Analytics, polling, looking at the research numbers about people's thoughts and their voting patterns heading into the elections. The show is brought to you with the kinds of courtesy of MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. Did you know that MTN has a new app called MTN Momo that's out? It's a brand new, beautiful blue and yellow icon app that you just cannot avoid or miss. It's the kind that helps you to make your life a lot more easy when you're dealing with mobile money transactions on MTN. If you download it from the Google Play Store or App Store, once you download it, you get the ability to view your statements, send and receive money, and do as many transactions as you can on this app on MTN Momo. MTN is definitely everywhere you go. We'll go for a short break now. When we return, the special aide to John Mahama, Joyce Bawah Mogtari, the last time she was here, she was definite that it will be Jane. Today she's back for that conversation about why it had to be Jane, what it means for the ticket heading to the 2024 elections, and also all the noise that's coming after the announcement. We'll analyze that tonight right here on the show. Stay with us. For staying with us, you're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abin. Tonight we're looking at the decision taken by the NDC and by John Dramani Mahama, the flag bearer, to choose Professor Jane Naana Opoku-Agyeman, retention of the same ticket from 2020 heading to the 2024 presidential elections. And who better to speak to about this than the one who told me here a couple of weeks ago that, Francis, this question, if you ask me, it will be Jane. I don't see why there's a need for a change. Tonight, we'll see if she had the ear of the flag bearer and saying, you have to make my choice what it is. We'll find out. Joyce Bawah Mogtari joins us tonight. Good evening to you, madam.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
An absolute pleasure.
Shall I clear that part out before we get into the meat of the matter?
Which are the parts
the last time you were here, you were emphatic. You said there is a clear case for Professor Jane Naana Opoku-Agyeman to be retained as the running mate for the 2024 elections from 2020. How much lobbying did you have to do to make that choice possible, like we've seen?
Well, Francis, you do know that I personally don't have to do any lobbying.
You sure?
I work in the office.
So you have us here.
It will be a clear conflict of interest situation to have me lobby in any case.
Oh, for the gender card, for the ticket,
when
yes.
you work for somebody,
Yes.
you start to mirror them. Mm-hmm. You literally can tell what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You know where their heart is, where the direction of their mind works.
Yes.
It is actually an art to be able to understudy your boss. Mm-hmm. So there are times when even you yourself have an impression, even when he doesn't say so. Mm-hmm. And note that in the aftermath of the 2020 election, Naana stayed right through. She was representing the boss at various fora. Mm-hmm. She was undertaking all sorts of assignments in and around the country.
Yeah.
She literally chaired quite a number of the party committees, including the Manifesto Committee, the Education Committee, the Infrastructure Committee. She joined us in the office for literally most, if not all, our meetings for as long as she was available and able to do so. Mm-hmm. So I think that she has actually paid her dues. But in terms of lobbying, many people were lobbying. Right up to the day even before the announcement was made, we had many people who were convinced that it should be them and not necessarily Naana Jane. But look, the pendulum keeps swinging. It will eventually rest somewhere. Mm-hmm. On this occasion, Naana has been renominated. We are on the cusp of making history. Let Ghanaians try something different, something new, something refreshing. Even if for nothing at all, err on the side of caution, that in the hands of a woman like Naana, all of your trust that you repose in her is safe. That you give her an egg, she'll hold it very carefully. She's raised her own children, fantastic children, amazing adults, balanced, well-educated, decent Ghanaian citizens. She has grandchildren that age. She has actually walked in the corridors of power all her life, worked as one of Ghana's foremost vice-chancellors of a university. Look at her record as education minister, for example. I think that this is a woman who has what it takes to run with John Mahama to effectively deliver on the promises that we have made to the good people of Ghana.
Joyce, may I clear a few things? So clearly, the flag bearer has gone for retention of the same ticket based on, of course, you've mentioned her track record, her persona, what she brings, and the values that she espouses. But if you look at the data and the numbers from 2020, what did the party see? What did the flag bearer see in saying that we saw an appreciation based on which we want to consolidate and even amplify and get better? Or there were other nuances to it politically that had to come into play?
Francis, we saw an appreciation in the central region, for example. And remember, the central region was home to late Vice President Kong Kensinaka.
Yes.
The central region is actually was home to late John Evans Atamils of blessed memory.
Who was vice president in 97 to 2000.
Commissioner of IRS.
Aka was before.
Absolutely, yes. The central region was also home to late Vice President Emisa Atta.
Yes.
So the relationship between the central region and the NDC has always been a fantastic one. But note something, the central region has remained one of the swing regions in this country.
Yes.
Note, it is a citadel of all of our best and our favorite educational institutions. So they have a certain way that they either align with you or they don't, or they come around and they come reluctantly. But this has been one of the longest relationships between the National Democratic Congress and, of course, the Central Region. So once more, they've given us that little girl from Commander who went to Wesley Girls High School, who literally led all her life, adult life, teaching at the University of Cape Coast, rising to the very highest level. She had burst onto the scene as Ghana's education minister. She has gone through the mill, tried and tested. She's a safe pair of hands, an experienced pair of hands, one that you and I would happily trust, one whose whole demeanor resonates with the good people of Ghana. Look, we need very steady hands at this time. There is a lot of chaos out there. Ghana is literally at the crossroads on the cusp of a huge economic meltdown. What best do you require? You need a safe pair of hands. You need a woman who will not come and tell you enormous lies, tell you stories of things she probably doesn't even know how to deliver, explain to you theories that you probably understand better. Above all, lie and lie and lie and lie. Naana has enormous credibility. She's trustworthy. She's one that you can put your life into her hands and know that she will handle it with care. I have no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure many Ghanaians believe that. Look at the numbers from the Central Region, for example. In 2016, we left with about 3 seats in the Central Region. In 2020, we actually increased it by 10. That's not a bad record for the Central Region. Indeed, when you look at the numbers even, the NDC actually got 43-point-something% of the votes from the Central Region. So we made an appreciation of 2.5%. Why then would you argue? Professor Mills was from the Central Region.
But Judge, there are some who say that...
He was flag bearer, Francis.
Yes.
Let me finish. He was
Yes.
flag bearer. He lost once, lost twice, and won in 2008. He was from the Central Region.
So that was at the third time of asking.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to someone who will make the argument that, okay, if we're using the late Professor Mills analogy in comparison to Professor Naana Opukwuagyman, she's been running mate 2020.
Yep.
Going to running mate for 2024. Yep. Will she be second time lucky or third time lucky?
She'll be lucky, and she was lucky in 2020. She'll be lucky again in 2024. Indeed,
To swing the Central Region?
she absolutely increased our votes by 2.5%.
Yes. But it didn't represent a swing, did it?
But at least we did much, much better than we've done in previous years. She stayed in the region the last 4 years. She must have made some impact at the time. She will continue to do so. Look, I have no doubt in my mind that Naana Jane is a woman who will be sworn into office as Vice President of this Republic of Ghana. I have no doubt in my mind. And you will watch, you will come back and tell me that this has been a fantastic choice, that this is a ticket that has been waiting to happen for a very, very long time. We have smaller political parties that have gone for other younger female versions. Remember Madam Eva Loko?
Yes.
I mean, she was a fantastic
Reggie
woman.
Joboniku as well for the PPP.
Absolutely, yes. But for the first time, a huge and successful political party, the largest opposition political party in Ghana, has gone for a female. I have no doubt in my mind that Ghana has done something that is right, that Ghana has actually served to inspire our inclusion, that when the annals of history come to be told, when the records are being presented, we will be told that a gentleman called Mr. Mahama went to the central region for a young girl from Commander, and that Naana Jane became the first vice president, female of Ghana. That is all that we pray for. And I have no doubt it will happen. Look, I heard something this evening.
We will talk about that shortly. We will definitely come to it.
Fine.
But I wanted to clear something out. Since we're talking region, swing, numbers, and balance, we talked about central region. How much more, by way of command of votes, influence of votes, does Prof. Jane bring to the coastal region? So Greater Accra, Volta, parts of Western region. How much influence can she galvanize across these belts? And then we'll look to the other parts of the country and what she brings to the ticket.
Let me state categorically that Naana Jane brings excellence to the job. She brings dedication to the job. She brings loyalty to the job. She brings trust to the job. She restores credibility to the job. She restores hope to the many Ghanaians who currently are totally listless and totally lost hope. And to think that even the political class is beginning to lose that space that we hitherto used to occupy. I think that for the very first time, Naana brings an illustrious career to bear on this job, enormous experience. But note also that she's female. So she brings this level of nurturing that all of us require, that we are all missing. And note, in the course of the pandemic, for example, we found out the contribution of women leaders, how they led their countries, how they led in the course of this pandemic, how women leaders have led in the course of an economic crisis even, how they've handled challenges to do with malnutrition, to do with maternal mortality. Note that biblically, women have been known even to lead into battle and won, because naturally, women are basically able to think through things in a more careful manner. Look, we've seen many female leaders, for example. Look around you. I met recently the president of Tanzania. You've just heard what she's done. That she literally sacked everybody from the company that actually produces power for them. This is to make people sit up. You heard about the example of Ethiopia, where half of his cabinets were actually women. Today, the prime minister of Ethiopia is a female. Let me tell you something, that female have the capacity to deliver. That female are not men. They will not lead with aggression. They will not lead with arrogance. They will not lead with arrogance of power. They will not even lead with the level of corruption that we see, that we kind of almost think that is very, very normal. I have no doubt that this ticket will present the alternative that Ghanaians require, the hope of a better future for all of us. And that is what we are all looking for.
So the other matter now, in Parliament today, the debate on the State of the Nation address continued. The majority leader who was here last week, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, had cause to bring the name, image of Professor Jane into the arguments relative to the State of the Nation address. I'm sure you may have heard what he said. I also heard it. What do you make of it?
Disappointing, utterly disappointing. Honorable Afenyo-Markin should be ashamed of himself and bow his head in shame. He has led the whole of the majority side into opprobrium. I think that his comments are totally unacceptable, and all well-meaning Ghanaians must condemn it in seriatim. In any case, who gives him the right? Look, you see, I think that I want to go very high on this conversation. These sorts of comments actually get me taken, and they tick all the wrong boxes for me. I'm delighted that the minority immediately called a press conference, that they demanded an apology and a retraction, but it's not enough. I think that Afenyo-Markin must render an unqualified apology to Naana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. She has kids his age, bright children, accomplished children, doing amazing things for this society, not necessarily in politics and not serving in government. And when you are a majority leader, you ought to be responsible, diplomatic and tactful. But remember that the former majority leader, if you could recall, at some point had tried to make similar comments, but I think he actually nuanced it. On this occasion, he was very direct. Is Naana Jane older than President Akufo-Addo? Certainly not. Will she be older on any day than Nkensa was many years ago? Certainly not. Is she the oldest citizen of Ghana? Apparently not. And when you see Naana, all of us pray and hope that in our 70s, we will have her energy, her tenacity of spirit, her confidence, her boldness. We aspire to age as beautifully as Naana has done. And hopefully Afenyo's wife would hope that she would be 70 and more and look like Naana Jane. That is all I can say. I think that when he goes home today, even his spouse will have some choice words for him. And every well-meaning Ghanaian ought to look, let's not reduce these conversations to sexist conversations. We've suffered enough misogyny, so much cultural nuances that all militate against women and females in particular. I think that we've been marginalized for a very long time. We have actually elevated our conversations to the point where we can tell you that a woman is just as good or even better, that a woman is just as capable or even more so. And I think that any gentleman or man who thinks like a female does not even deserve to be in parliament. And certainly parliament ought not to be a platform where you reduce to such low remarks and conversations. When Justice Sue Ginsburg left the Supreme Court of the United States, how old was she? When Hillary Clinton contested the last time, how old was she? When Margaret Thatcher left office, how old was she? Currently, we know about Angela Merkel. When she left office, how old was she? The job of a vice president is not a walk in the park, but the job of walking in the life of Naana Jane has certainly not been an easy one. I have no doubt in my mind that many people have enormous respect for Naana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. For those men who are badly raised, who are badly brought up, who do not have gentlemanly behavior or do not apply certain ethics to themselves and speak in this very loose manner, I am one who never tolerates such things, not even from my friends. And I believe that no woman in her right senses will put up with those comments from Honorable Afenyo Martins. You know, look, we literally allow people to walk roughshod over others. And you in the media must take these sorts of things on. You must work with us to inspire inclusion, not to create division. Anybody who uses someone's age as a reason to ridicule them, he has poor judgment. Literally has not been brought up well.
Regardless of gender?
Regardless of
male
gender.
or female?
Male or female. Totally unacceptable. We must condemn them, treat the comments with the contempt that they require. And it does not require any emotions, for example. In all terms, practically, otherwise, in public service, nobody in the public space should describe anybody in office in those terms. In any case, who determines the future of a political party? And how do you determine that because you went out there and nominated a distinguished female whose career is unblemished, whose record is unparalleled, who stands tall amongst the many females that we have in Ghana, whose career has been one of exemplar leadership? How dare you stand on the floor of Parliament and say that? All the women on both sides and men ought to condemn this statement totally and completely. That retraction apology is not enough. He ought to show remorse.
Joyce, there are others who also say that the nature of the politics now and the personality attacks has become a common feature across the board. Yes, that of Professor Jane and Opoku-Agyeman has come up now with the majority leader. But there are some who equally point to other party flag bearers, running mates who've equally been, victims of personality attacks. Is this where we draw the line in the sand?
Look, this has been coming for a very long time. When we speak about decorum in our politics, people think we're joking. When we speak about elevating the debate, people think we're joking. When young men and young women get opportunities of this kind, they should lead in all humility. They should lead by example. They should show respect for our constitution and for the nuances of our society. They ought to show the normal Ghanaian reverence for persons who are older than you, for a woman who would be your mother's age or even your mother's colleague, for a woman whose career and sterling qualities you probably might never even be able to achieve. She may not be in parliament with you, but if Naana were even in parliament, Afenyo would not be on her level. And even out of parliament, Afenyo is not on her level. I think that for whatever reasons, wherever he said what he said, he ought to be ashamed of himself. Sometimes this is why people ought to attain a certain level of maturity before they are handed certain positions. Maybe he probably is not well suited for the role of majority leader, because I expect that you are majority leader of Ghana, Ghana's parliament, not just of the New Patriotic Party. You don't even expect a party foot soldier
Joyce,
to say
the
this
point
on
you
a
made
party
about
platform.
the former majority leader who made similar comments, some will say that, okay, then it's not a question of age and maturity. It's a matter of, in principle, it being wrong.
I've said to you already, it's
Yeah.
a matter of sexism, lack of respect, lack of decorum, poor upbringing, poor judgment. It's all sorts of things, but it's unacceptable on any day. And this is where we draw the line. Indeed, even in the past, where men have made these sorts of statements, they've been condemned.
Yes.
But you don't expect a young man like Afenyo to speak like this about his mother's age or colleague. In any case, I ask you a question. Who determines the future of Ghana? Akufo-Addo has been in office for 2 terms now. How old is he? Almost 80 years or more. Who's ever spoken about Nana Addo's age, for example? Who's ever made his age an issue? Nobody. So when we do that to a woman, what do we think? Why then do you think that many women decline these positions when they are offered? Why do women refuse to put themselves up, to stand up to be counted? What is the reason why Ghana, almost 67, 70 years after independence, is yet to have a female vice president or president for that matter? It is because of this level of misogyny, this disrespect for females that we should not tolerate. And it shouldn't be coming from me or anybody else. It must be something that systematically we remove from our political discourse. In fact, in all spheres of our society. Look, I have said it before. We had people who professed to have been deputy governors of the Bank of Ghana, who had every inkling about what to do about Ghana's economy. They have failed abysmally. They have mismanaged the economy. They have lied their way through to power. They've been exposed. They've fallen flat. Where is the level of inflation today? 23% and counting. Ghana's poor have gotten poorer. That is serious. The level of hardship today is unimaginable. Corruption is at an all-time high. Indeed, the Ghana Integrity Initiative has actually said that 0 is being done about corruption. Have you heard the quantums of monies? I don't see Naana in all her modesty and humility wanting to drive around in many vehicles and call them a convoy. I don't see Naana expending our resources on private jets, for example. I don't see Naana wanting anything more than what she's used to and comfortable with. And I think that Ghanaians ought to be told that we need to start to look at the nature of our leaders. We should look at the decorum, the modesty, the grace they bring to the jobs, even before we go and ask what it is they're going to offer us. I see Naana, for example, standing for social justice, standing for inclusion, standing for a woman who inspires others, opening doors very wide so that all of us young women can come through very happily and in confidence. She has done it all her life. She will do it all over again. You know, look, belittling individuals doesn't stop them from being who they are. I mean, for a woman who's been in academia all these years, I'm sure she's used to loose talking. She's used to very reckless males who actually occupy very high political offices. Look, in terms of discrimination of any kind, we still suffer it. In terms of sexual harassment, for example, we all still go through it. In terms of being talked down to by your male counterparts, whom you are probably been 100 times ahead of, we still deal with all of that. I think that most women who arrive on the stage of this level of leadership have the confidence, the boldness, the wherewithal to withstand this low level of criticism. I have no doubt in my mind that Nana can see through the politics that is going on. I'm sure she appreciates it and she understands. But I am delighted that many individuals, male and female, even non-NDC members, have stood up to condemn these reckless, disrespectful statements coming from a man who definitely doesn't know what time it is or what day it is. And you see, this time, the NPP has been exposed on all their propaganda. It is not going to work. Our Vice President, now flag bearer, every time he has opened his mouth, he is referenced to the lies that he has heaped on our society, the falsehoods that he peddled, the economy that he touted as his area of expertise. He has failed. Let's look for people who have empathy, people who love Ghana, patriots, nationalists, individuals who have walked their talk. And Nana stands very tall amongst leaders who stand for what they believe in. And she didn't start today, and she won't start tomorrow.
Okay.
I have no doubt in my mind that if men close to 80 years and above have led us, why not women? And certainly all of us We want to look like Naana in our 70s, to have an energy, to have a level of engagement, to have a level of can-do spirit. And above all, we want to mentor and be examples to our children. That example in Parliament is a poor example, bad for our children, bad for our politics, bad for our democracy, and ought not to be repeated. And no man ever should repeat such very low statements.
Unfortunately, time is not our great friend, but I want to say a big thank you to you this evening for joining us. I know you had to, go through a number of stops to be here tonight, but we thank you for joining us here.
Thank you very much, and let me say that we're grateful for your time.
Grateful for your time as well. That's Joyce Bawah Mogtari, the special aide to the flag bearer of the NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama. That should do it for us tonight on State of Affairs. Thanks to the entire team for making this show possible, and thanks to you for watching. Good night.